Taliban Suda is all over the place.
Yes, Peter.
And you know, these OIC cars were a major issue. One, we thought the number was much greater than, the need. And now the issue of cost comes across. Similar cars, same cars if you like, apparently bought at, a much lower price than the government has told us they bought their cars for.
Well, I've listened to the mayor's interview. There are many issues that came up. One is the cost. I think one of the allegations is that the prices were inflated or overinflated. I think that statement shows that either the mayor is ignorant of public procurement works in this country, or he was just trying to be plainly dishonest. Now, one thing that is important is that for the records, the OIC Land Cruiser vehicles that the ministers are using currently did not cost $12 million.
How much did they cost?
They cost just over $8 million. That is one. Two, you cannot compare the vehicles that the ministers are using and the project vehicles. There are huge differences in terms of, one, the standards are different, the specs are different. The project vehicles are standard GXR vehicles, diesel V8, 7-seater, of an older type, with just basic functions. They bought them because of they are supposed to support the education sector and some of the social projects up country, and because of their durability in navigating that terrain. That is why they are bought. The minister's vehicles are VXR petrol, which has a high functionality, so the specs are different.
How many cylinders?
6.
So V6.
V6 petrol, so they are different. Sometimes you see a car, 2 cars, they all look alike outside. Those in the car industry will know this, but the specs are different, the EM model is different, and the standards are different. The VXR that the ministers are using is a premium functions. These ones are standard. So you can't compare the two in terms of quality, but also in terms of specification, but also in terms of EM model, and so on and so forth. Now, when it comes to the procurement of these vehicles, obviously, clearly, apart from the fact that there are differences in the specifications and all I've named, the procurement method was very different. Public procurement works very differently. So when you procure from the GLF, you have to follow public procurement rules, which means that it must be bought from vendors in the country, not at source. Source pricing, if I buy this water from the supermarket and I go to the factory and I buy it, obviously, there'll be huge differences in terms of the price and the cost. Now, also, if this water was the OIC vehicles are pre-financed from local vendors, they have to pay for it. And he even said it, that in fact, he contradicted himself, that the Mbalit trucks, that the price at source cannot be the same price as here, because that's what they call the shipment payments, the duties, and so on and so forth. All these things will add to the cost. So what is important is that in public procurement, you must use local vendors. And these local vendors have to buy it from source, ship it, it has to come with all the expenses, logistics that has to go with it, and their profit margin. Obviously, the price will go up a bit higher. The government cannot buy from source. And I can give an example today. If a government official wants to travel, you go online and look for an air ticket to London to and fro. Online will be far cheaper than if you buy it from an agent, a vendor from the Gambia. Yes, but public procurement indicator doesn't allow the government to buy online directly from source. You must use a vendor. We have a vendor-based procurement system. So obviously, if that is the case, you cannot compare that to say, okay, because the factory price is this, so government overinflated. But take into consideration the cost of transporting that vehicle to the Gambia, the duties, the logistical fees, and so on and so forth. So what is important is that the mayor should not come and try to mislead Gambians just because of to score cheap political points. We think that is unfair, and I think, in fact, the project vehicles also, he gave a reason. The reason why they were returned was because of the pricing. That is false. When the vehicles were assessed, and we came to realize that they are not of the same standard as the premium VXR that the ministers are using, it was confirmed that they are not the same. That is why they were returned. And after the lifespan of the project, these vehicles will be returned by the Gambia government. But also the savings that the PCU, the Project Coordination Unit, made. These are Minister of Finance savings. It's not like these are savings by the...
savings on what?
Because the savings that, you know, they use the UNOPS. UNOPS, when you buy vehicles through UNOPS, it's always cheaper because they buy from source, and then it's always cheaper. So the PCU, the vehicles they bought for the project vehicles, they made savings from there because obviously it became cheaper because they buy from source cash. It's different from when it's pre-financed because the interest has to be added and all other cost has to be added. So the two statements he made, really, he really lied and made some really false statements. One is that the price is false. He lied on the price. Two, in terms of the project vehicles, the reason why he said they were returned back to the project is not because of the cost. It's because after the assessment, we realized the specs are not the same. The EM model is not the same. So you cannot really compare the two. But so the model is not the same as well. So also he lied that it was 20 project vehicles, which is false also. It's only 6 project vehicles. So this should be very clear.